So, I'm going to be talking all about marathon training today, what I've learned, what I wish I would have learned earlier, the habits and just tips and tricks and stuff that I picked up along the way. I am going to be racing in less than a month, and I've been training for this race for a really long time, and it's something that I'm super excited for. So I'm really excited to just share my knowledge with all of you. This is going to be my third full marathon that I'm running on March 3rd, and I have 3 half marathons under my belt. I hope that it's helpful for anybody who's training or who is looking to train in the near future. Now, there are some tips and tricks that I've learned throughout my training that I would love to share with all of you. And number 1 is getting a plan that works for you. So that sounds simple, but if that means working with a coach or getting somebody to design a specific plan for you, I would highly recommend that. That's what I did for my first 2 races, and that's something that held me accountable, but also ensured that I wasn't overtraining or undertraining. Secondly is to make sure that you're in an environment that's conducive to training. So if you're in the midst of trying to apply to grad schools or getting ready to apply for college, or you're trying to look for jobs, or you just moved, or you just had a baby, all of these things are really tough. So I think that making sure that you're in an environment and in a lifestyle right now that you can train. Third is rest is so important, and we can get lost in the mindset that I need to train in order to be able to get to that 26.2 or 13.1. But really, rest is the best thing you can do for yourself. Even when you have a written, structured plan and it says that you need to run today, but your body is begging you not to, don't. If I try to go out there and push my body against what it's telling me, it's going to backfire and it's not going to be a good run, or it's going to be a horrible time and I'm going to feel horrible after. So I've learned the hard way that you need to take rest when your body is telling you that you need it. In terms of tips and tricks of actually running the race, which told me this throughout my first race, and it's something I still do, is every single time you pass a water stand or a refreshment stand, swoosh water in your mouth, and even if you don't want to swallow it, spit it out. And with that, also make sure that you're getting electrolytes, water, and sometimes they give you gel packs. If that's something that you're interested in trying, I would say to do that in the midst of your training, and don't just try it for the first time on race day, because you want to make sure your body has a good reaction to those gels. Some other tips and tricks that I can think is that on race day morning, think about what you want to eat before the race. I typically wake up a good 2 to 3 hours before the gun goes off, just so that my body can kind of acclimate to where it's at, the temperature, what I'm doing, just being awake. Some people prefer to eat it probably 2 to 3 hours before the race. Some people need to eat 1 hour before the race. Some people don't like to eat till after the race. So that's something that you need to figure out for yourself. Another tip that I would have, something really important, is foam rolling. Stretching and getting those muscle fibers loose is so important. If you're not working on your flexibility and really just releasing all of that soreness, it's gonna build up. And some more detailed information that I can give you about what I found are products that I use that work for me. I run in Saucony sneakers or Asics. There are so many different types of running sneakers, but those are the 2 that have worked for me. So those are usually what I recommend. Also, I hope I'm not the only one who suffers from this, but I chafe so badly on my long runs and during races. So what I found that works is Vaseline. I will rub Vaseline between my legs, a little bit in between my toes and under my arms before race day, or on the morning of my race, just because I know that for some reason my skin is really sensitive, and that's something that I found works really well for me. As well as on race day, making sure that before you run the race, you've run at least a couple miles in the outfit that you choose to race in. That sounds really simple or almost unnecessary, but you want to be comfortable when you're running that race, and you want to make sure that whatever you're wearing is conducive to going as fast as you can. And if you are wearing something that's uncomfortable or that's rubbing the wrong way, it can really hurt after 20 miles. So making sure that you're practicing in that outfit or just doing a couple maintenance runs in that outfit before you go. As well as on race day, this is just as important, because why the heck are we doing this if it's not fun? But look around and smile and just revel in the hard work that you put up into the day. You stood at that start line and you were surrounded by thousands of runners who have worked their butts off to get there. It's an amazing thing to be surrounded with runners and people who have the same passion as you. So be sure to congratulate people on the run. Be sure to high five people and engage with the crowd and listen to your music, and don't be afraid to just smile and sing along and do whatever you want to do, because this is what you've worked so hard for. So the training system that I use this time around is not very structured, but that's because I've done this twice before and I feel more comfortable now just working out intuitively. I know that this structure is a little looser and maybe it's not as regimented as you would need for your first race, but that's what I'm using right now, and it's been super beneficial for me. So a general recap of what my training looks like is I'm doing long runs in the midst of maintenance runs plus gym-based workouts. So that would be weight training, or cross training. So that would be cycling, it could be yoga, bar, anything like that. So it's not just running. It's not getting out there, lacing up my sneakers and going for a 10-mile run every day. So for me, I started my training all the way back in June, and my race isn't till March. So I had a lot of time to work with. When I first started, I was only doing one long run, starting at about 10 miles, every 4 to 5, sometimes even 6 weeks, depending on what my schedule looked like. Other than that, I wasn't changing my daily routine. I was still going to the gym and lifting weights probably 5 to 6 days a week, and then doing that one long run every 6 weeks or so. As I progressed to October, November, my mileage started to pick up, and I was doing that long run every 3 to 4 weeks. I got to about 15 miles around October and November, so the way that I did that was every time I did the long run, I would add 1 more mile. So I started around 10, the next time I did 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So by the time I got to 15 miles, my coach and I agreed that I was going to stay at that distance for a couple weeks. So I repeated that 15 miler probably 3 to 4 times, each time just working on my pace. And then by the time I knew it was December. I decided that I wanted to do a half marathon in January just to get my mind back into the racing mentality. And to prep for that, I just did a 10 miler instead of the 15. So that way I was getting my body back in gear, but not overdoing it before the half. I got to the time for the half marathon. I felt great. I ran a 7:23 pace for the 13.1 miles. That was a great way for me to kind of measure where I was at, and I was really happy with the results. So what my training looks like in this last month is a little different. I've done my last long run, which was my 20 miler, and that was about a week and a half ago. And that was a great run. I was really proud of it, really happy with it. So until the race, I'm pretty much just tapering and taking care of myself mentally and physically. In terms of food and fuel and just making sure that I'm staying hydrated, there are so many aspects that go into it. Again, I preach that balance is the answer to everything. So I am not the type of runner who eliminates things from my diet throughout the gist of my training. This last month is the exception to that. I cut out a few things just these 4 weeks before. That is solely to get my body to its optimal level of performance. Up to that, I really do believe that just giving your body what it's asking for is the best way to train. I know what works best for myself, so I fuel myself according to that. But I'm not the type of person who says no treats, no alcohol. That's not me. I do incorporate those things into my diet for 95% of my training. Again, it's just this last month that I kind of fine-tune and eliminate a few things, which I will talk about. Throughout the gist of my training, the main things that I focus on are protein, carbohydrates, and lipids, which are healthy fats or fats. Breakfast is always my biggest meal of the day. That's something that I not only love, breakfast is my favorite meal, but it's something that revs my metabolism and gets my body going. So a typical breakfast for me, and my favorite breakfast, is a bowl of oats with peanut butter, bananas, and a big plate of scrambled eggs. That's something that covers all my bases and something that I actually look forward to when I wake up in the morning. I, throughout my day, will usually have 3 meals and 3 snacks, so I'm never letting my tank run on empty. As a morning snack, I do so many different things in the midst of my training. I'll do protein bars, my favorite being RX or Power Crunch bars. I will also do yogurt, Greek yogurt with nut butter and granola and fruit, maybe some chia seeds. I'll do hard-boiled eggs or a piece of avocado toast. Anything that I can get my hands on while I'm on the go. Another thing that I'm constantly putting into my diet is just protein shakes whenever I can. For lunch, my main focus is always protein and carbs, so I will have a really big lunch. I'll do tons of lean proteins, chicken, turkey, fish. I always have a ton of roasted veggies in the fridge, just prepped and ready to go. And I'll usually pair that with either a brown rice, quinoa, sweet potatoes, anything that's going to be nutritionally dense and fuel my body for the rest of the day. I'll do another afternoon snack, which is similar to what I had in the morning. And then dinner, again, focusing on those same food groups, making sure to get those lipids in there. And then I'll have another snack before I go to bed. So I am not the type of person who does only 3 meals. I am definitely feeling myself throughout the day. With that being said, that's what a typical day looks like for me when I'm meal prepped or when I'm home. But when I'm enjoying time with friends and family, or when I'm on vacation or I'm on a trip, I'm not afraid to indulge in pizza and treats and anything that I really enjoy but don't have access to while I'm at school or when I'm super busy. So a lot of times when I would go home, I would eat my favorite peanut butter pie, and I would go out and I would get my favorite slice of pizza, and I would make sure to indulge in my mom's home cooking, and that's something that I'm not afraid to do. So I do have some staples in my diet that I know make my body feel good and function well, but I'm not afraid to incorporate a lot of other things that some people would say, oh my gosh, why would you do that when you're training? But I really do believe that balance is the answer. So what I said was that for my last month of training, I do a little bit of fine tuning in terms of the physical training as well as what I fuel myself with. So for 4 weeks out, I've done this for all my races and it's been really helpful for me. But what I do is I cut out alcohol for 4 weeks before the race. That is solely to increase hydration, make sure that I'm fueling my muscles and my body well. I'm the type of person that gets really hungover when I drink, so it's not the best way for me to kind of get my head in the game for this race coming March 3rd. That's just something that I realized has worked best for me. That being said, I've already planned my post-race celebrations. It is a restaurant with a full menu of mojitos and mimosas, all these things that I can't wait to get my hands on. So this is not me being restrictive or choosing to eliminate something from my diet long term. This is just me trying to fine tune. In addition to that, the only other thing that I'm really changing is cutting out processed sugars. The reason I do that is not because I think that they're bad. The reason that I cut out processed sugars is solely because they're not giving me a lot in terms of nutrients and in terms of fuel. So right now I need to be eating a lot of calories to sustain what I'm about to do and what I've done up to this point. And with that, it's already hard enough to get in as many calories as I need to. So by filling room in my tummy with things that aren't giving me nutrients and the energy that I need, I feel right now that it's a waste of space. I hope that the way I explain that makes sense, because I'm not eliminating these things because they're going to hurt me, but more so just because I don't have room in my really high caloric diet right now to be eating things that aren't giving me anything in return. I do love sweets. I've eaten them all the way up in my training to this point, but just these 4 weeks is something that I've realized this is the best for my body. It's allowing me to get in all the fuel and energy that I need in really nutritionally dense foods, so that way I can get all the calories in, get all the nutrients, and just fuel my body to the point where it needs to be. And shameless plug, if anybody needs help designing a plan, I do offer to help write people's plans for them. Again, I'm not a professional coach, but I have a little bit of experience under my belt. So I've written a couple plans for followers and clients. If that's something you're interested in, shoot me an email. My email is linked to my Instagram page, and we can talk about fees and what I charge for that. But I would be happy to help if that is something that you'd be interested in. Thank you so much for listening to me. I know that that was a long video, but I really hope that this was helpful. I know that a lot of you have recommended that I make this video. So please let me know if this did help, didn't help, or if you need anything else from me. But best of luck with all of your training, and please send good vibes my way for March 3rd. I know that I cannot wait for that race to come, but I will be sure to give you updates as it does. So much love for all of you. I cannot thank you enough for even watching and being so supportive throughout my training, and I'm here for you every step of the way for yours.
Does it almost feel like nothing changed at all? And if you